Good morning, everyone. This is Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. We want to touch back today on the audio that we received from an insider at the UFT Executive Board meeting. This person identifies themselves, and it came anonymously, identifies themselves as a Unity member, but not liking how the Unity Party is conducting their business within the UFT. So remember, we've been saying in some situations, some of the locals are trying to stifle your speech or not allow you to dissent. And we've talked about the labor movement being one of those that was founded in dissent, that it should be open to open discussions. And if you are AFL-CIO, AFSCME, you do have that freedom within your union to be able to freely discuss or even criticize your own union. I mean, these are organizations that are supposed to be working for us. And we want to make sure that they are working for us because we all need a good, strong union. They need to be able to protect us, not just themselves or just their, I don't know, caucus or faction. So they have to remember that they do have to represent all of the people, and then how do they do that? So in this situation, it was very disturbing to see that a teacher had raised a motion to the floor that was limiting the time allotted for teachers to ask a question for of the executive board. And some of the teachers were describing this as a waste of time or like basically filibustering when teachers should have a question. My mother was a teacher. My mother always said there is no stupid question. You know, all questions should be asked. If you have a question, ask a question. And she was a proponent of asking questions. You should never want people to be confused or concerned or want to not question something. They should always question something. And in a political time as divided and heated as we're in, where you're being told something as fact and just told to blatantly accept it on its face, no. And Mr. Mulgrew, shame on you for even taking that position. An organization such as yours, which takes a very liberal position, is taking an ultra conservative position that you're walking on dangerous waters and stifling people's speech. So listen to this, and then you tell me what you think.
The last motion, the last resolution coming to the floor when we get to the election complaint is the executive board question period. Somebody's bringing that forward, right?
Stand to make a motion, executive board question period. We're asking that the question period for the executive board meetings be limited to 15 minutes. So moved.
The motion is before you. It's open for debate.
I can speak to it.
Oh, you can speak?
Yeah, for a moment.
Okay, please, Amy, sorry.
I think the primary purpose of this meeting is policy making. It is 8 o'clock, and we are just getting to the policy making. And from my perspective, I welcome questions that are clarifying questions. I feel like the line is very blurred, that the question period becomes a period for further rhetorical argumentation, which doesn't advance the work of the executive board. So that is why, and we have these procedures at our delegate assembly for the same reason, so that we can get to the business of policy making. So we want to be consistent in this body with the delegate assembly, as well as keeping our work moving.
Thank you, Amy. Rashad,
Executive Board at Large, I rise in favor of this resolution. The question period is an important time, and as Amy said already, that time should be used to ask questions that we can definitely get back to our members that are asking those questions, and not questions that are being researched just to waste our time. And also, when we ask questions, there's some members ask questions and they stand on a platform and grandstand before they ask the question. We all are teachers, we also are educators here. My question is, listen.
Thank you, Rashad. Akil Williams, Exec Board at Large. Just to piggyback on what Rashad and Amy said, this is a forum for us to be able to have questions and have debate, granted, but also what's happening now is just a great deal of pontificating that's happening. And what we need to do is stick to the matter of the business and make sure that we are all feeling as if, we are part of this organization together, because I feel like it seems like we're too busy focusing. And then what we're doing is recycling questions that have been asked. It's like you see different forms have been coming, and it's wasting our time, and it's taken away from the matters on the floor. And we have to do something to maintain the sanctity of this space. Thank you, Edward.
Edward Calamia, High School Executive Board. I rise in opposition. 15 minutes is an arbitrary amount of time. Let's say hypothetically I ask a question that, I don't know, Mike Sill answers, and it takes him 7 minutes to answer it. Took me a minute and a half to ask it. It's a complicated question. Maybe it takes him 10 minutes to answer it. How do you know that in advance? How can you say 15 minutes as opposed to 20, as opposed to 25? It seems an arbitrary amount of time, and what's going to end up happening is that it's just going to discourage people from bringing real questions that are, in the background.
But that's what they
and
want.
It's just going to chill the environment. And another thing I noticed is that before the UFC people were sitting at the table, we weren't talking about this.
Thank you, Edward. Nick.
Yeah, I speak obviously against this. I think executive boards been meeting for decades. I think pretty sure this is the first time there's ever been a resolution to silence people who are coming to ask questions. I don't think it's wrong of me to note what's obviously happening here. Over the last several executive board meetings, most of the questions have been asked by members of the high school executive board. And this is an obvious attempt to silence us. There's been a lot of critiques of how political the seven of us are, but this is political. You might not say unity, you might not say united for change. This is political. This kind of action, people are going to hear about. People are going to hear about UFT silencing teachers coming here, asking questions, often for people, who came out to, like alone in an A, right? Spoke to a question asked by someone who came to the open mic, right? A lot of our questions are coming to try to help real teachers. I came because someone, a close friend of mine, a UFT member, couldn't get mental health services through the UFT. Maybe next time I won't get to ask that question, but you guys can go home a little bit earlier and do the work.
Yep.
Sung Lee, Elementary Executive Board. I've been part of Executive Board for 7 years. I've also been part of Executive Board when United Court, I guess a different caucus, was in high school. We've never needed to set a limit to question period because question period was never this level of monopolized by the same people asking multiple questions. When I ask 2 questions, it takes less than a minute. I don't understand why people ask 14, 20 questions that take up an hour. If that time is limited, that allows you to more efficiently ask your questions. I hope that's what happens. And if this continues to be a problem, I'm sure we'll revisit the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
I'm Nancy Armando, Executive Board at Large. I also want to rise in support of this resolution. Again, just to piggyback on what some of my colleagues have said, it's become a political platform to have the questions asked.
It's become equally as political to stifle it.
And do the work of resolutions, setting policy, and preparing for our delegate assemblies. But it seems like we're hearing the same questions every single time. And I'm new to the exec board. I think I've heard 4 questions repeated over the last 4 times that I've been here. So we just want to move on. we want to resolve the issues. The questions have been answered several times. They still come up. I rise in support of this.
Thank you, Nancy. Leo Gordon, Vice President. I'll call the question. Question has been called. Takes 2/3 vote. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. All those in favor of the resolution, the executive board question period, be limited to 15 minutes, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. All right. The motion passes.
And so there you have it, my friends. The very first time you're hearing live and in person, a union, a big union, a union headed by Michael Mulgrew of the United Federation of Teachers, stifling speech on the floor of the executive board meetings. Why? Because they claim that having dissenting opinions is problematic and is a waste of time. And it's a shame that how many teachers actually supported it and justified it with their lines. It's just absurd. It's absolutely, it has left me speechless listening to this when we got it. And I can't tell you how angry it made me, because every teacher in that room or listening to that call should understand that their voices matter and their union should respect that their voices matter, not silence them, not silence them. And for that to be coming from a unity member, that's even more huge, because that tells you I do support my union, but I disagree with how they're doing things and that they're trying to cut people out or silence them from dissenting against their positions. That's not the right way. That's not what labor is about. We're supposed to be able to have a discussion, because you know what? Maybe if Michael Mulgrew heard something other than what he wants people to tell him that agree with him, maybe he might learn something that he doesn't already know. Could you imagine what life would be like if you actually heard people with different opinions? I don't know. How do you feel? Let us know, because we're interested in hearing it. Are you too a unity member and don't really like that speech is silenced, that opinions are silenced unless you are publicly speaking within the unity support organization, within the unity caucus? Did you also know that this was a very brave thing for someone to do? Because if they are a unity person, and from what we understand, and we're still trying to learn about this, that they actually have to sign a loyalty oath to be in the unity caucus, promising that they will take the unity position, that they will not speak out negatively about the union or Mr. Mulgrew. What do you think about that? Yeah, we're moving backwards, my friends. Sadly, moving backwards.